7:11.
Ooh.
So should we just,
7:11.
we're gonna skip the clerk's report until
Yep.
we get a quorum. Should we discuss treasures or should we skip that as well?
It hasn't changed, right?
No, I'm looking at the other one. And the ending, FY, 2020
Yep.
thing is $12,000 more.
Oh, maybe he did some adjustments.
Yeah, I
based
think
on-
the adjustments up top on the
State match.
surcharge and the state match.
Okay.
There were a couple issues that they were trying to nail down at the last meeting, he said.
Yeah, on the last meeting, he had the state match is 11.6%, and the new one here is 11.57, so that the resulting figures are showing those differences. So I think those were, for example, the
We have a quorum.
Okay.
fund balance for CPA, there he is. It goes from 260 to 273.
Okay.
We just restarted, and we're just not voting on anything until you got here.
Yeah, we literally started a minute ago thinking folks would just toss out spreadsheets.
All right.
So, but he didn't, I guess he emailed you this?
He did.
Did he have any notes for us?
I think the biggest thing that he wanted to talk about, and I think it's something we will need to talk about too when he's here and we have the whole committee, are things that he and I learned when we had a meeting with Stuart. We had a conference call with him one day, and I have notes from that I'll send out to everybody. But the big thing we learned, well, two big things. One, we don't have to do a true-up of the reserves. That the DOR has really not issued a formal statement, but they've sort of answered the question and basically said, if it's a de minimis amount, but they wouldn't define what that was. But what it's been interpreted to mean is it almost has to be like a 50% change. So the fact that we true up this like $500, Stuart's like, you don't need to be doing that. You
Well, we
can
do more than 5, don't we? Do usually around like 2.
2,000,
Yeah.
but still, that's,
If it's
Even
still
based
had
on
it
the
was
30,000,
like-
that's
it's-
less than
Okay.
50%, it's not.
It's
Okay.
too small. And in reality, he said, you want to keep as much as you can out of the reserves because it allows more of the money to be free to use
right
for anything, for any purpose. The other thing that he talked about was, and he gave us an example of how to do it. In the spring, go forward with one warrant article that takes care
You have
of
Verizon?
all of the reserves and the admin budget in one shot. And it's basically the Community Preservation Committee's budget warrant article.
Oh.
And it's done at the Maytown meeting. That's how most towns do it. We're kind of an outlier that we do it the way we do it.
Thank you.
There's nothing wrong with it, but he was shocked that we actually even entertain the idea of projects twice a year. He can't believe that we undertake that. He was somewhat impressed. So it's something to think about moving towards just that one warrant article. It would certainly save us work. Because his thing was, what you do right now works really well because you have Ken. But very few towns have a
I
Ken.
hope he doesn't fall overboard.
Well, bingo. Like he's wearing a life jacket. I saw it in the pictures. So
Three of his
it-
buddies down in
he just said it's something you might not want to continue going forward because it's very hard to do
You
that.
mean the stuff to change, to make sure the reserves are right?
All of that, and doing it twice a year, doing projects twice a year. He also said we use some naming conventions that are inaccurate, and Ken and I are going to meet with Anita just to go over that. It's nothing major, but Anita had some questions from the auditors at one time, and I think that's what these questions were. We use a terminology of fund balance for CPA purposes, and I can't remember exactly what he told us. I have it in the notes, but it should not be. That is a different account, and so we're basically using that naming convention for something that it doesn't make sense. It should be an undesignated.
The main thing that when we do this, though, that we need, because we did Ken and I met with, Finance Committee this fall, cause they basically as a refresher course on what CPC is, not to go over warrant articles.
Right.
To do this again to say this, we're gonna have a significant change in the way we do town meeting.
Yes.
So that it's very clear to them and that they understand why, and that we explain to them that we're no longer gonna do these true ups, that we're gonna change some of these account names so that if things look a little bit different, that is why. Nothing bottom line changes, it's just the way it appears on a town warrant.
Right. So I've got the CPA fund balance thing. We need to change the account fund balance for CPA purposes to budgeted reserve account. Because he said that's what it actually is. It's actually a reserve account that we do each year. And then if that money's not used, it then rolls, because that's the temporary reserve account and allows the committee to appropriate funds prior to the books being closed. Fund balance is a permanent account. So see what he was saying, by us calling it fund balance, and I think that's where we were confusing to the auditors, because we were using it as a temporary account. And in their eyes, for municipal accounting, that should be a permanent account. So these are just a few things that Ken and I will work out with Anita, and getting back to Finance Committee, we'll need to sit with them and go over all of this, so that they understand the changes
Right.
and why we're doing them. It's not like we've been doing anything grossly inaccurate. We really haven't.
We've just been calling it different things.
We've been calling it a different name, and honestly, as Stuart said, you were making more work for yourself. You know, you were doing more work than you needed to be doing. So, but as I said, I've got minutes from that. You know, I did like a white paper of that discussion with him. So I didn't want to send them out before this, knowing Ken wasn't going to be here, because I think it's something Ken really should be talking to you guys all about.
Well, we have time.
All right? Yeah, we do. Plenty. Yeah.
And also to get to the, which would jump in the head of the cart, to do only one project call a year, that we would do that in the fall, so we have all fall, you know, so that people aren't rushing in the summertime to come away from vacation.
So that's the one you would drop, is
So
in the
that-
fall.
Right, that we would, you know, maybe in October or September have applications due, and then have a hearing in October, or, you know, whenever, because it's like, then it gets to be Christmas, Thanksgiving and Christmas, but then it's, most of the work is done before the springtime.
And well, one of the things you want to do too, and I think we'll find this when we have the consultant, is I found this out researching the CPA plan. Most towns have that one public hearing that we're required to have in the spring, because that's where they gather information from town, from other committees, and then they update their plan, because the plan's supposed to be updated annually during the summer, during the quieter months.
So
But
there's
then
no
it's-
need for another public hearing for each town meeting?
We've historically always had 2 public hearings,
Right,
and pretty much focused on the projects.
And
Right.
the public hearing is not supposed to be on the project,
No,
it's
the
supposed to
public-
be on what we do.
Right, on the plan, it's supposed to, the public hearing really should focus on the committee, the goals of the committee, and updating that plan.
so what's the rationale to have a public input for warrant articles?
Well, we always, in the beginning, right, we were told we needed to do that.
Yeah.
When we first started, because then one of the things Stuart kept saying, you know, to Ken and I think he said it when he was here for the training too, is you guys were one of the first towns, right? So, you know, and this thing has evolved, and, you know,
And we still do it the way we did it the
and
very
we still
first
do it
day.
the way we did it on the very first day. Because when I said the thing about the accounting, I'm like, that's how it was set up by the town accountant at the time. And he said, yeah, of course it was. He said, we were all learning. It was brand new, right? And that's why it's like, there's nothing horrible here. It's not like you've been doing things wrong. It's just over the years we've learned. So I think for us, the idea of having those public hearings is probably a good thing. And it's something the committee may want to consider to continue to do. It's cumbersome, but it does give the public an opportunity to come and question the projects
The
and all that
individual articles, yeah.
before they end up on town meeting floor.
And I think that's good that we have the town meeting, I'm sorry, the public hearing.
Yeah,
that discusses the articles, but we need to make sure that we're discussing the plan as well.
Yeah.
That needs to be part of that agenda, because we've just been strictly talking about articles,
Yeah,
projects.
which is what we thought we were supposed to do.
Right.
And it made sense. Made sense then, it
I mean,
still does.
And in reality, when you talk about those projects, things like, well, how much money have we spent on historic preservation always come up. You know, are we looking forward to this other land of the Robinson properties that may become available? Or, you know, are we making the proper decisions around that? So you're thinking about all of those things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just not specifically, you're not saying, well, the plan says, and, you know, is this how we should continue to?
That's not to say that you're not gonna run into that, like we did with the lodge. You know, we had the pre-hearing, we had the discussion, we demonstrated how, we had the interest in it for the town and things like that, and still, the issues came out on the floor that, that we had addressed during the meetings.
Right.
So
You're still good, right.
you don't know.
Yeah, that always.
So we would only fund projects once a year.
That,
No, I'm not totally comfortable.
Yeah.
with
so, and
that.
that's, but see, that's not, that's
I know
not-
you are.
he- Stuart said, I always feel I keep saying Stuart said, but that's what many towns do. It doesn't have to be that way. It does not have
I
to
would
be
say
that way.
if that's the standard,
Right.
but if there's ever an emergency thing that would meet an October town meeting, such as a purchase of land, we would always entertain things that were time sensitive.
Oh, that makes me feel
Having been
better.
involved in projects that, you know, you do your due diligence, you make your best estimate as to what the costs were gonna be, and then you find out, oh, it's gonna cost more. To then mean that you can't go back to try and get more funding for a whole nother year
Right.
puts, I think, all those projects at a real disadvantage. So,
I think we can like plan to try to have everything addressed, like the articles where we're going into the money in the spring town meeting, and then reserve the fall town meeting for the continuing resolutions and the payments for the original, for the debts and the appropriations and things like that. But we still retain the option for situations like that.
yeah.
So if we have someone's that looking to come up with a plan, we can aim them to the Springtown meeting. But
Right.
that is not to say that that we wouldn't entertain it in the
Right.
fall.
And I'll say as well, for me, knowing that some projects do require some like development time making plans, and the actual construction or or doing of the work is best to happen during the summer, spring when weather's nicer out. Like if we approved the common in the spring, well, we did, but but I mean, like sometimes in the spring, then you have that summertime to try to plan for it, get it all ready. Essentially, you're not doing the work till almost a whole year later, even starting it. No matter if it's going to be a short amount of work or a lot, but the planning could impact that. So
I would see that timing though, that would, I see, to me, that says we should still keep October because you would
that's
do.
what I'm.
That's
what
when
I'm saying.
yeah, that's when you got to go out to bid because
Yeah, 'cause
they're
you gotta
they're
go out
already
to-
working in the spring and the summer.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I'm saying.
Oh, that's what you're
I'm,
saying is
I'm
both.
agreeing with you.
Oh,
That I think
okay.
both makes
Oh, okay,
sense.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Because doing it only in the spring, you have the issue of just the timeline.
Okay, I
That
see what you're saying.
having a shorter timeline in general and having the bids, end of the year make
Okay. I
Makes
see what
sense.
you're saying. Yeah,
That's
no,
when
I
in the end
didn't
of the year is
understand at
when they're going to
first.
be looking for work for the
Exactly.
next year. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we can,
This is all stuff that I think will be reviewed.
With the consultant to give us all
Yeah.
pros,
Yeah.
cons, what other communities
Yeah.
do, how they handle these kind of issues, because they have the same issues that we have.
Yeah.
In terms of timing and best time to do the work and that sort of thing.
do you want us to approve the treasurer's report?
Any other discussion on the treasurer's report?
No.
Move to accept the treasurer's report as
Second.
submitted.
Moved in second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
I'm
Make
voting
a-
present, Joanne, just because I didn't hear most of the treasury report. So
Sure, you're abstaining.
yeah.
I'd like motion to accept the clerk's report,
For August, September, and October?
and that's
In town
correct.
meeting?
In town meeting.
I have some comments on those.
Okay,
The first thing is I feel that we shouldn't accept the October minutes just because they,
Which October 3rd?
October 3rd, yes, because they were it was not a quorumed meeting, so I don't,
It wasn't a what?
a quorumed meeting, so we were not in a quorum.
We still have minutes.
Yeah, I feel that from my understanding of how stuff goes, it's inappropriate to have meeting minutes for a meeting that wasn't quorumed. So,
It was a meeting with notice. The only thing about a meeting, if you don't have a quorum, is you cannot vote. And we did not vote.
And
No.
just, in the past, when we've had meetings, the town clerk gets very,
Upset.
upset.
There's no other
If-
way to put it. She
I was gonna
you
say
post-
particular.
If you post a meeting and then there are no minutes,
Must have
even if it
minutes.
says this meeting, even if you have to say this meeting was canceled
Yep.
last minute,
Right, yeah.
or
But
this
then-
meeting,
Still
the town
have to
clerk, if there is an agenda, if there are not minutes attached to it, she's
You're
gotten very
expected to
upset
provide minutes.
at me at times. Because I've forgotten to do those minutes when
Can
we
I-
canceled minutes.
You know of what you speak.
Can I make a recommendation? I do agree with Jen because
Yeah.
I've, in submitting minutes,
Agendas.
agendas and all of that, she wants to see something about what happened with the meeting. How about if I follow up with Candy tomorrow? We table the October ones. So it's October 3rd.
All right, I amend my motion to accept the minutes of the August, September, and the town meeting minutes.
Second.
Any other discussion?
my other discussion was about the August minutes. When I read them initially, I'm assuming they haven't changed since the first time you sent them out, Joanne?
No, I have not changed.
Okay. My feeling was that Dr. Gould, I feel, should be referenced as Dr. Gould in the minutes itself rather than just Ray Gould. That's my, and Ray as her first name. I think it's more appropriate to recognize her accomplishments as a doctor.
Okay. Do you have that?
And just so you guys, I mean, just Justin, so you understand, I've known Ray for 17 years,
Right.
Yes.
before she was a doctor. And she never
She's
calls
not-
herself doctor.
And she's very laid back and doesn't really.
She's not.
I-
hung up
I-
on-
She was
She's
going
not
to.
hung up on anything. She's
I
very
understand that.
easygoing.
I just think
Very
it's
easygoing.
a form of respect that I think we should show in formal minutes, and that's what I would like to see.
How are they listed? Is Ray?
I think I call her Ray.
I think you
Yeah.
wrote Ray Gould once or
I
twice,
always
but it
do
was Ray the rest of the
minutes I
minutes.
draft. I say Mr. or Mrs.
Well, I'm
Doctor or
gonna
whatever,
start
so,
doing that. So
See,
I'll change
I
it.
personally don't like that at all, but that's just
Mister?
my, no. Yeah,
he
being very
doesn't like my
formal.
minutes,
It's
you say?
stilted.
Okay, so
too still.
maybe, okay,
It's-
so if the
it's
committee
too high
can talk
church.
about how they want their minutes written, maybe take a vote on Mr. or the informal of first names.
I don't have a problem with it. It's just not my preference to use this Mr. and Mrs. and Doctor and
For people who may not be familiar with people by their first name, or if there are people on the committee with the same first name, I think it's just more clear if we use their surname.
Right, that's fine.
So I will, how about if I take all of these minutes, August, September, October, and town meeting, amend them to be Mr. and Ms. and Doctor,
That would be fine with me.
except for the October 3rd ones, which we took out of your motion, because I'll speak to Candy about those.
And I'm less particular about the members of the board as long as it's consistent. If it says Mr. Wood, then Mr. Wood throughout it, or Justin, that's the only thing I feel about the board. But as far as people that come up to speak, I think that's when we should have the,
It helps me if we just have,
like
like.
exactly. I don't have a preference on in that regard, but I just think
Okay, all right.
so we're going to,
What, are we gonna
Titles.
start calling everybody like Mr. Scarlett?
Yes, Mr. Gallagher.
No, bite me. No.
No,
I don't like
not during the meeting. It's just in the
Not during
minutes.
the meeting, just
In the
In the minutes? I don't know. I don't like that at all.
You don't?
No.
You got to
I don't either.
You guys have a vote.
I don't,
take a vote.
I don't care enough to discuss it, but I will go along with what people want. It's, I pick my battles. That's not a battle I'm gonna pick.
Yeah, I don't do that.
If it's not broken, don't fix it.
yeah. And like I said, Jim, I don't mind however we refer to the board, but when it is the
I can understand, like, if someone's a doctor, yes, they've certainly earned that title. But if we're talking about internal communication or someone else like that, I think using a familiar term, I think that's completely acceptable. It's not like we're talking, like, I was talking to Butch,
Or Shorty.
yeah, or Shorty, Lefty.
Good old short.
My grandfather's friend's name.
It's not his fault, it's his DNA.
And I do have one final comment just to say out loud, is that the August minutes, my understanding is that Bill Yemen's letter will be submitted along with them.
Yeah.
What?
Now, yeah, I mean, I will submit the letter, whether
As part of the minutes.
yes. Yep.
I'm sorry, what?
Bill Yemen's letter that he sent to
Yeoman.
the committee.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's part of the minutes, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
it just wasn't
What-
sent, it
what I
wasn't sent
did
in what
though-
I seen.
right,
So
when
that's
I-
why I'm calling it out.
Justin contacted me. He said, you reference his letter in the minutes, but it's not attached. And I said, I know I didn't attach it because you all already have it. But I will
But
attach it.
but it's
when-
attached to the
when
minutes.
I submit the
Yeah.
minutes,
Yeah.
I will attach it. Yeah.
Just calling it out.
Okay. So, to recap, the minutes moving forward are going to say Mr. or Mrs. or Doctor or
No,
no?
Just
that's
the-
not my motion.
Oh,
Just doctor, I think.
Just doctor.
okay. So only, I guess it's mostly visitors then.
Was your original thing that you just wanted her to be referenced as doctor?
Yeah, that was my.
So let's
that was
just
my
go
main
with
point.
his original motion.
Okay. So we're keeping to informal names unless it's Doctor somebody.
And
Yeah. And I'm gonna make up nicknames for you that she has to write in the minutes.
I can think of a few.
Yeah, I want to know what these
Just
are.
like Paul and I
We'll have
sit
to
over here
we'll have
together.
to
I
Yeah.
give nicknames because I can't remember real names. Everybody has a nickname.
So you have a motion from Jim.
Seconded by Jen. With discussion.
AKA Mr.
by
Gallagher.
Justin.
Jim, what's your middle name? I wanna refer to you
James
by your.
Joseph Gallagher Jr.
Okay, James
JJ.
Joseph.
JJ.
Gallagher.
Don't
What's
ever
up?
call me
What's up?
JJ or I'll
JJ.
hurt your back
It's
more.
JJJ.
JJ. I'm trying to remember what he said.
I had a JJ Bowen. They used to call him JJ, and he loved it. I never cared for that. I guess you had to know JJ Bowen though.
Okay, so now we're gonna have a vote
All right.
on the.
So what is the motion exactly?
To accept
Accept
the
the
August,
minutes.
September, and town meeting minutes and change where it says Ray Gould to Dr. Gould on the
Second.
minutes that
Dr. Ray Gold, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Ray Gould. Yeah, I just noted it.
That's what you can say.
I noticed that.
You can put it in the minutes.
At this point, Jen snorted.
No, put it in like parentheses, snort.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carried.
All right. So the October 3rd minutes will go to next month's meeting.
Right, to find out how Handy wants us to handle any minutes that we do not have a quorum present. Treasurer's report done. Property signage for CPA funded projects.
In the new
Ms.
applications,
Dungan.
in the new applications, we now have a line there that recommends that proper signage, any signage that's there, give proper acknowledgement to the CPC, right?
First billing,
It's in the,
that's my,
like the
That'll
grant
pick.
agreement that we hand out.
that they're required to have a sign.
Yeah. An appropriate, I think we word it like, as an appropriate sign.
I don't think we require it a sign, right, on all of them, because there's some that wouldn't lend
I
itself
think we
to
said
a
as
sign.
appropriate because we were thinking,
Right.
you don't need to sign on the weights and measures. You have to, that's gonna be a little discreet.
Like a little
Well,
plastic.
the screenage, the recreation did
Right,
on
you're not gonna
Silver
do the
Lake,
sign.
you know,
You
you're
can't
not gonna put a sign on that.
Right, right.
But as appropriate.
As, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, or if signs are deemed appropriate, that they should acknowledge the contribution of the CPC
Yes.
or CPA.
So Apple Tree has a donor tree, for lack of a better term, and there are leaves and apples on it.
Yeah,
And we are recognized on that.
yeah.
Are we on the trunk?
We are. You have a very big apple.
The trunk and all the roots.
It's a very big apple.
Yeah, so, excuse me, and Don Clark, has stopped in and asked me about what we would want on weights and measures. He was gonna speak to Dawn Joffrey a little bit about it. You know, I said I think it'd be something small, like, you know, maybe on the cabinet in the back or something. So one of the things that I have not done and I need to is look into the temporary signs. Justin, you had looked into
Yes.
the bylaw.
Yep, I has looked in the bylaw and after looking in the bylaw, I just spoke with Joe Layden about my interpretation. He suggested I talk to Bob Berger, and so I sat down with Bob for a bit, and he basically described to me that if it's a municipal project, we don't need to worry about what's in the bylaws. That's, you know, essentially open season, so to speak.
So that we're not required to
You know,
follow the bylaw.
Not for municipal projects. We have an exception for all municipal projects, but as CPC itself, we're not considered municipal overall. Like municipal would be if we're doing something for this building, you know, as one example for municipal.
Which is
But,
fine, because we wouldn't do something.
You know, exactly, and then the
But like for the Nipmuc, for the
for
Cisco
the
homestead,
NIPMUC, it would be whatever's allowed by, you know, by right, which is construction signs basically, and those are temporary in nature and only for the duration of construction happening, or anything else would have to be permitted through the town, and that takes away from it would also take away from what the places themselves are allowed to sign, you know, so it wouldn't be an additional thing. It's whatever's there allowed space. The only thing Bob said is that if we wanted to, as a board, work, you know, between the planning office and planning board as well, and try to get something on the town warrant to amend the bylaws, or, you know, and that's up to try to make an exception for CPC signage and with specificity. You know,
I think
you know,
our
size,
signs are
figuring
all
out-
gonna be temporary. They're not gonna be much longer
Yeah,
than the
You're
project.
talking
I mean,
about signs that
for a year.
during the actual construction
year or
portion,
less.
not something that's
Yeah, 'cause-
permanent afterwards.
Right.
Because I was gonna say, with the nitmucs, for something permanent afterwards, you could have a plaque on the
Right.
building.
On the
and then
building,
it would
right.
be no
Yeah,
problem with that.
and yeah, I know one of the signs you showed me was just like on your phone was this wooden type thing that was
Right.
actually, you know, permanently outside like
Well, it
that.
wasn't permanent outside. It was that it's just showing that work on that building was done at that time. So
Yeah.
in a year's time, that they'll move on to another set of projects. So that sign gets moved from that
Yeah.
project to the one down the
The-
street.
So it's
That-
essentially there during
Yeah.
construction.
Right,
Yeah.
it'd be a
Which would be
construction
fine.
sign.
Which would be fine.
But
Like they did
cons-
at airport.
Yeah, construction signs are, you know, one thing, but then the temporary signs per the bylaws is limited. I think it was 90 days. I forget offhand right now, but that's, you know, as a construction sign to be permanent as a construction sign.
So I'm sorry, if I can ask a question. It sounds like, we're talking about putting up a sign while construction is going on. But that would not be considered a construction sign.
That's the trick. He said it would have to be within the definition of a construction sign to the bylaws, and it doesn't add more, you know, stuff to that. So, but it would come in a lot. It would come down
what's
to
the
What's the
definition
definition of a construction sign?
it.
Lists who's the contractor is and, you know, who's
Yeah.
sponsoring it and stuff. That's
I-
essentially what this sign would be, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
I-
Bob basically, when he was telling me for him to give me a specific answer, he would need specific details on what, like, dimensions as well as what we're planning on putting on it specifically, and I didn't have that to.
But I don't think we're gonna do that. I think what we're doing is that if they are gonna do a construction sign, you're gonna build a park. So if you're gonna put up a sign that says, I'm building a park, we wanna make sure that we're mentioned on your sign. It's not like we're gonna put up a sign that say, oh, the CPC is helping put up this park.
A perfect example was the townhouse. It was a
Right.
requirement of the grant that we got from Mass Historic that we have a construction sign. And it listed all of the people and organizations, including us, that had donated. And, you know, just mentioned that it was it was part of the MPPF projects. So I think that is a construction sign, what we're talking about.
Yeah, the additional commentaries when we first talked about this, when I started to reach out to Bob about it, we were talking as well about the idea of having a sign if the NIPMUC thing was approved at town meeting this October, we'd have a sign there saying we're sponsoring this until our sponsorship is done for this particular project.
But we're not gonna
this
do
is
that.
This is a this project right now is design, not construction, so construction side wouldn't apply right now.
But we wouldn't do it anyway. If it was beyond there and they started doing the work, we wouldn't put out a sign that said that.
No,
If the
yeah.
Nipmucks put out a sign saying we're doing construction, we would want to be on their sign. So the responsibility as to the proper signage would be theirs.
And I would agree with that, yes.
Yeah. I think that's what we're saying, right?
Yeah.
And then the only other thing, that's just talking about for construction purposes, but the signage issue also, I think, has to apply to any permanent memorial that's going to be of any project, like Roney's Park. Okay, the fact that we would want to make sure that we were on that sign, and we are, and that's what we would want to make sure.
I'm disappointed that we weren't listed first.
Yeah, well,
You know, we
but
get
I can
90%
understand,
of
you
the
know,
money.
look who did it, look who,
Who spent the money?
right,
twice?
that's true, but it's about a firefighter. It was brought forward to the committee by the firefighters, and most of the labor and everything was on there was by the firefighters. It's not like Acme Box was listed above us,
But even if you listed or included all the donations and time and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
it does not come close to what we gave them.
right, you're right, but I,
That's my issue.
okay, but I agree to
And the fact
disagree.
that it was all mishandled, that's the other big issue.
Well, I mean, this was
And we still don't have
like,
a
it
final
was a
report.
citizen project,
Well,
and, you know.
then
and
don't
it's-
ask for the money if you can't.
But they did they did a great job. And it's brought to fruition, so I think, you know, that's
So
just
he
one of the
still
ones
needs to
we
get a
learn,
final report.
you know, dust off our caps and move forward.
He needs to still get his final report in with photographs.
Yeah, well, we'll come to that,
Okay. She's winking at you, not at me.
yep, because we have something going on the side.
We do.
We want to try to keep that off the recording of the meeting.
Too late.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Okay, so, I still need to look into buying those little signs.
They're essentially the same size as like a for sale sign, right?
Oh, even small, I liken it to the campaign signs,
Okay.
Or maybe a little bit bigger.
maybe a little bigger.
I hope they're a little more durable than those
Yeah,
things,
no, that would get
because they won't last
a
very.
permanent that can go from year to year, project to project. Town meeting recap.
No, I'd like to make a comment here. I had a chance to review the, and this is quasi appropriate at this point here, and I want to talk to Justin.
Yes, sir.
Because I had a look at the CPC meeting that we had here, and specific attention to Stuart's comments at the end with Ken and with Paul and with that lady from Upton.
Yes.
And then looking again at the comments that Paul made at town meeting, and I got to tell you, I was absolutely pissed off when you got up and virtually called him a liar, because the article that he read, the notes that he read, were on that meeting, and I think at a bare minimum, you owe him an apology. But I also think you were wrong in standing up at town meeting and underlying the group that you're a member of, and I think that could have been handled so much better. I'm just curious what your reaction is to that.
My reaction is that my memory of what happened reflected what I said at town meeting, as well as after town meeting, I rewatched the entire video, including what he said, and my memory is still very much the same. Ken had, I think it was Ken, passed the paper over, and Stuart looked at it briefly while there was discussion going on, and then he did say, if this is the case from what you say, I don't see how this is valid, and that he had also expressed to us that we should have our town attorney look at this,
Right.
look at that, which was one thing, but it was a lot different than him giving a opinion saying that this is not valid, you can't do this, and it would stand in the way of CPC, versus him actually saying we should have an attorney look at it, and based on what you say, this is what.
But the comments that Paul made
Yes.
were consistent to what Stuart had said during that presentation. And then the discussion that was going on over there in that corner after the presentation, when the camera was off, I had problems with that as well, because you seemed to allude to the fact that other things were said there that were inaccurate, when in effect you and I were sitting over here and we were chatting while that was going on. And that's the other thing that upset me. I think the way that you presented it at town meeting, I thought was very unfortunate. And it really sounded like people would say, oh, I don't want to be on that committee. Look at that. They're calling each other liars. I just thought you handled that very poorly.
Well, I accept your comments. I do know what you were talking about. I did not intend to mean that and come across as anything was actually said off camera about that, because I know I was talking with you. So after the camera, microphone was shut off, I didn't know exactly what time that shut off. I hadn't watched it as of town meeting to rewatch before town meeting. But so I didn't think anything untoward happened while we were talking. That's for sure. But my understanding of what happened during the actual recorded meeting is what I said there, and I did have a slight issue with the we as a board when Paul was speaking. We.
I think he
which is
misspoke once.
There was more than once.
I prefaced all of my comments by the fact that they were mine.
Yes,
mine.
but then later on you did say we, and that's why I called that as well, because I don't like the idea of saying we when it's not. And I mentioned to Ken when we had that meeting October 3rd as well, once when he said we. And
That's why I prefaced
Yep.
my entire
but
dialogue with that. I didn't feel I needed to repeat that.
Do you feel you're justified in calling him a liar in front of town meeting?
I feel I'm justified in saying the facts as I see them.
Are you justified? My question is, are you justified in town meeting in calling him a liar?
I feel I've answered myself well just now. I did not say he was a liar. I said what I understood the facts to be as of our meeting that he was.
Are you saying
speaking
you
to.
didn't call him a liar?
I'm saying we had a different understanding of the facts.
If you had said that, that would have been perfectly acceptable, but that's not what that might have been what you meant. But people sitting there are looking, and you essentially said that what he said is not true.
And then you said it on Facebook about me.
Well, I didn't see that.
Yeah. That because I said that my recollections were more in line with Paul's, and they
Yes.
still are. My recollections are more in line with Paul's than yours.
And I watched the video again, and I'm still saying I was right.
Yep.
And he continued to I'm sorry
Yeah,
for
no,
interrupting.
go ahead, Paul.
He being Stuart, continued to read what we had put in front of him for the entire 20 minutes that tape went on. And he never changed his position at all. This man is an expert. He looks at that law all the time. So to say that he wasn't what's the term I'm trying to look for? Convinced of what his position was, or that he felt it had changed by the time he had a chance to evaluate it. He had plenty of time to look at it, and he never changed his mind. So
And my concern is, I don't do Facebook. I've got better things to do with my day than look at people telling me all this insignificant stuff that's not always accurate, and that where people don't have an opportunity to say, hold on, that's not what I said, or I don't believe that's what the conversation was, especially if I'm not reading that. All this conversation's going on about the committee that I'm the chairman of, and it's critical that we all get along, and if we have issues or problems, you need to bring it up here.
Yeah, I feel
Not on
very.
Facebook, not on any social media. I don't think that's appropriate. There are people that are on town committees that do this. I
May
feel
I-
it's
may I
very
ask you a question?
inappropriate. Not until I'm through talking.
Sure.
Because people, you can have an opinion, but once you become a leader, whether you're a city councilman, a selectman, a school committee member, you lose some of your ability to be a private citizen because you now are a public citizen. And what you say reflects on the town, whether you mean for it to or not.
Okay. Are you asking me to make my First Amendment rights as far as free speech where I want to make it?
Please.
This isn't about First Amendment
God
rights.
bless
You're telling me not to
America.
post on Facebook about my beliefs and what I feel happened, and that's
If you have issues or concerns about our committee and the work of our committee, it needs to be dealt with here.
I can bring everything
I don't read
that
your
happened-
Facebook
Yeah.
post. I don't read anybody's Facebook
That's
post.
fine.
So how do I know what you're saying?
Mine is public, so anyone could see it.
Okay,
And
that's not the answer to the question.
The answer to the question is that anything that is
You are setting
considered
us
for a
up to a
board-
potential problem with open meeting law. Because if 4 people or 5 people from this committee start posting on your posts, guess what? We've just violated open meeting.
And I realize that. I expect everyone that would read anything I post online to
So
understand.
that
open meeting
means
law.
you've blocked our First Amendment rights to controvert what you might say because, I've counted 4 other people.
I didn't
can't
block your
comment.
First Amendment rights. You're bringing it
No,
up today.
No,
You know, we need
I'm
to talk
saying-
about
But I
common
think-
decency.
No, I'm saying if you say something.
Jesus.
And 3 other people say something, I don't get to say something because I just tipped the scale of now it's a public meeting and there is no notice. So therefore I violated open meeting law.
Well, anything I decide to post online, I'm happy to bring to this meeting if it involves this meeting. But beyond that, I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to stop
Then
commenting.
I think that we need to come up with a policy. I want to find out what's appropriate, what's inappropriate for people to post.
And that was supposed to be a response to town meeting, not to, in particular, this committee's meeting.
If it touches on this committee, it affects me and it affects everybody sitting around this table.
You attached the video for this from
Yes,
this
I did.
committee, so
Because that was the discussion that we had at town meeting, and it was a workshop meeting. We didn't
And if
have.
you're unhappy with this committee, guess what? I don't know about it unless you tell me.
I know,
and I'm
I
not-
haven't
I'm
had
not-
a chance to speak with you until.
Guess
today.
what? I have email.
Sure.
I have a phone. And
Okay.
it's probably on the website.
From now on, whenever
Be
I
a
do
nice
report-
guy. Be a nice guy. There's no need to undercut people, period.
We've
no
worked too
need for
long.
that.
All of us, you're
wait.
coming into this committee new.
Yes.
All of us here have been here. I've been here since day one.
As have
Joanne-
I, as has Joanne. And if we have some,
committee right
and
now,
we've,
okay.
there's been many times that we've disagreed, but we don't diminish somebody in public if we disagree with them. We talk it out, and we still sometimes don't agree. That's why we vote yay and nay.
So may I ask you, Jim? My main point was I'm trying to share the facts with the voting public as well. The people at
As
town
you
meeting,
see them.
Facts.
As I understand it,
and
and
that's,
that's
the
why
problem. It may not be a fact.
Well, as I shared the video for anyone to make up their own mind as well. It's not. Don't take
Again,
my word
this is
for it. Look at it.
my color of
But-
Facebook. Everybody
Yep.
put their spin on everything,
I
and
shared
there's
the
very
video
little
with the town,
truth in any
too.
of it. So-
But my point being that if you, Jim, to what you just said, if you feel that I approach this badly, how would you have recommended I deal with it at town meeting rather than saying the different fact that as I understand that you feel differently than me.
No, had you said that's not the way that I remember what happened, or if you had said something to the effect that I don't believe that that what Stuart said was what Paul just said. I think he implied something different. Had you said something like that, then that's a discussion. That's a discussion. But to assassinate him in front of the town and call him a liar was inappropriate and wrong.
Then I will do better to make my word choice better.
That'd be great. I hope you do. But I also think you owe him an apology. You decide whether or not you think you do, but and I'm glad to hear you say that maybe you'll think a little bit better about it in the future. You have a lot to offer this committee. The knowledge, skills, and abilities, and especially the information you bring from the planning board to this committee is very helpful. But I just don't think this is a place to assassinate your fellow members, especially in town meeting. And I hope you take it to heart, and I hope that before you express yourself the next time, you do it in such a way where you're not assassinating somebody else. That's all I got to say. I'm sorry.
Right.
Thank you.
I stand by my belief what happened at the meeting, but I do apologize that I didn't word my stuff better with you.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I'm sure you just do, but I thank you.
But my concern is still there. That if we're putting stuff, and I don't know anybody else, if anybody else is doing it too, I'm not picking on you, that it needs to be dealt with here. And if we're putting stuff on Facebook, Joanne, can you run this past Tim, ask Becca what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, because we are supposed to put our information on the town's Facebook page, and Becca monitors that. So if there are issues or problems, she gets back to us.
Okay.
And if everybody has their own little satellite
Yep.
Facebook stuff that only people in your little group look at, then
And I will say, from my overall understanding of things, number one, when I got appointed, it was shortly after that Joe Layden did email me saying he expects there to be a social media training coming up. I'm looking forward to taking that if there is one. That's number one. And if I get told something different than my understanding is now, I will take that to heart and go by that. The second thing is that I've discussed with town staff in the past about how I am using it for my, for my political page, so to speak, which is the one I have for the planning board. And what I've been posting has raised no concerns prior to today. So I'll,
because you're attacking people, that's why it's created a problem here.
Well, but not just that, I would just caution you to be careful, because what you view as facts, the rest of us were in the same room at the same table, and we don't agree. Like, we all had the same recollection from that meeting, and you have a different one. So if you're putting that on your political planning board page, it sounds like listen, that you're somebody that should have the correct information. You're on the planning board.
yes.
And if you're posting things that we don't necessarily view, you're posting things as facts that may be opinions. And I would just caution you there to watch what you post in terms of fact versus opinion.
That's fine, and like I said, I stand by my interpretation, and I understand
Right.
everyone here is different, and
But that's your
point is-
opinion. It's
That's your
not a
opinion.
fact.
my fact is what he said, which I quoted on my post, and I also posted the video so anyone can watch that to see the exact
But
fact.
people
But
don't go watch
How many
the
people
videos.
watched it? Can you tell?
I watched it and I
No,
still
but
disagree
off
with
of
you.
his link. How many people
As did
watched
I.
it off of his link?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
And he has a link on his
John doesn't
webpage.
use the correct terminology.
Whatever
because
it's
he doesn't
called.
use. Because he
If
doesn't use.
on his thing,
post.
if you click on his post, can
Can
he
you tell how many
tabulate
people
that
click on it?
300 of his
Looking
followers
on YouTube, I can tell you
actually
right now,
looked
at
there?
least 18
YouTube.
people have viewed it. Yes, YouTube.
The YouTube.
The YouTube view.
YouTube would show
You
the
can't
number.
tell who watches it live as far as number, and
I
you
don't
can't
care
tell who
who
watches
did.
on the
I just
town's
want
site.
numbers. You can tell.
18 on YouTube, you can tell.
Okay.
I was
On
one of
YouTube,
them.
you can't. I've talked to multiple people about that as well.
The link that you sent us,
No,
that's when I went back and looked at it again.
Yeah,
That
that's
was,
the
wasn't that
training
from,
session. That's on YouTube, yes.
Yeah.
but
the
that
link I
was
sent.
that was through cable though, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bob, I think Billy actually, or Jack had recorded that for us, because I
Yeah,
wanted.
because we
yeah.
we put a lot of our transmissions now on YouTube.
Yes,
But
and
I'm
they-
just wondering if that is, if that is usurped because it goes through GCTV.
What do you mean usurped?
Because you're going to YouTube through Grafton Community Television, whether or not that affects your count that you're
Well, it'll
looking
still
at.
tell you.
From my experience in the technology industry, I have people that are on my use.
I'm stupid.
Work- no,
Are you
I'm-
in? Are you in?
I work.
IT?
I work as a engineer for Mozilla that makes Firefox.
Okay.
And I have people that I've worked with and have close communication with that actually work at Google and now work on YouTube. The way they count that number is people who have watched, overall views of the whole video, combined. Meaning if 5 people watch a fifth of the video, that counts as 1 view. So that's something to be aware of as well. So people have looked at just the parts that happen at the end. That would not count as a full view on
So
YouTube.
let me ask you on that one there. If I went on there on a link through GCTV, would that still show on the YouTube too?
YouTube would say yes, but if you're viewing it only on the GCTV website and it doesn't bring you to the YouTube main page, then no.
So if they have their own copy of it and you're accessing it from them.
Well, I don't know. See, I looked at it through GCTV, and I don't remember if that was a YouTube thing.
Yeah, some people, even for me, it's hard to remember where I looked at something sometimes like that.
Well,
but
I know
it's-
that, I gotta,
I like the agenda for tonight's meeting.
I have always watched things on Grafton Community Television at every possibility.
yeah,
Is that an opinion or a fact?
as the chairman of the Grafton,
I will say, Jim, actually, I find our website for GCTV a lot better and easier to find stuff with than YouTube. I only use YouTube when I need to share something out because I could link to a specific point in time in a video with YouTube.
Did you edit the video when you posted it?
I did not post it. That was the town's posted video.
Okay, so you put out the one from YouTube just exactly how the town had it?
Not the total,
Correct.
you did an excerpt for
I
the time.
I use YouTube's time seeking feature, so I linked to the point in time in the video, but it was still the town's video as the whole video.
Okay. So people still saw the whole thing, they didn't see just what you wanted them to see?
But so that everybody
Just,
understands, I think
the section that
we all
he was
respect
talking
each other here, and we
Yeah,
all,
but
It wasn't the whole meeting.
To
I know,
to
but when you edit
and I respect
things-
you.
When you edit things.
I respect
but,
everyone here.
no, but that's, and I think that this has always been a fun committee to work on. All we get to do is give away money.
And I will.
So this is a good committee.
I agree.
And we don't want to undermine it accidentally and unintentionally. And I think that's what we're trying to prevent.
And just to clarify what Paul and Jen were just asking about with the time on the video, where I did it with YouTube, it was the whole video, but YouTube will start it at the point that I said that it happened at. Anyone could go a little bit earlier, a little bit later. They could move it as they wish, but that's where it would default start if they click the link.
Yep.
Okay.
I feel better.
Next item is the consultant RFP and candidate interview process.
We put this on here, I think, thinking that we might have candidates to interview and people to talk about, and we don't.
Has he?
No
put it-
one?
Has he put it on the
I don't believe
register?
it's gone out yet. Has it gone out?
I don't know. I thought that was kind of done in August.
No.
Because I remember being in Texas reviewing stuff and
Right,
catching
no, the
dates.
last email I had on that was, probably 2 weeks ago, so I'm
So-
guessing it just went out.
So,
Because I put something on our page, it definitely went out, because I put a copy of it on our page.
so it's included in the register or whatever it's called
Yeah.
for people to send back an RFP.
Yes, I just don't think,
Usually it's like a month.
yeah,
they have
which
it
would,
out there.
yeah, so we wouldn't have any yet.
So the earliest that we'll get started on this is January, February, I would think.
Yes,
The interview and
Then when would we be able to hire if we start the interview then? Now we're into the summer, right?
no, you would interview and hire January, February, March.
Yeah.
I would
Alright.
assume.
I suspect by the December meeting.
Yeah,
we'll
it'd be
have
nice
stuff.
to have somebody in place to get us ready, help get ready for a Springtown meeting.
But remember, you also created a subcommittee
Right,
specifically
that'll work on it.
yes, so that when everything came in, that subcommittee could meet, interview the
Yeah.
candidates, pick the consultant, and move forward.
In case you forgot, that was
I'm on
me.
it.
And I
You.
think you're on it, and Sandy.
And Sandy.
Yeah.
In case you wanna change your mind.
And don't think for a minute that we don't appreciate that. Stop that, you'll get sick.
Okay, so I think, there's really just nothing to report on that right now.
Okay. The sign just the project award letters.
So I have them completed, I just need to know who the committee wants, I did. I assigned Ken Holberger the baseline reports.
Okay.
Because he's on Grafton Land Trust. I know Dawn is as well, but Ken was kind of the point person with, Karen
And new.
on all of that. So I gave him that. Cisco Homestead, we just need somebody who wants to be the point person from this committee on that.
Who does not have a project? Or does
I
anybody?
don't think I have any, do I? I
You
feel like
had
I've had a lot.
open space
the-
and rec plan.
I can tell you.
I don't have anything, but I've never done it before. And I'm more than willing to take it, but I just don't
Yeah,
know
look,
what's
I
involved.
do it, it's not hard.
Yeah,
You
I
basically
don't know what's
Just ask them
involved,
what
but
they're
I can.
doing. Just get an update.
You get updates, and when they have bills, you help them if they have questions, or talk to Joanne. You can talk to me.
Sure.
That they have to process the forms, the voucher screen, and fill out all the information, and then they sign off that yes, whatever work is on that invoice we agree that it was done to our satisfaction.
Jen, no, you came off with, open space rec plan.
That's me.
And then if I'm not planning board rep to this committee for after May, when the reorg happens, it gets
That
handed off?
it would
or-
just
Yeah, we
dep-
reorged, like, we would change it.
if you were gone, then we would, if your replacement, we would ask if they want to do it or if there's somebody else. So it's
Just
it's
double
only the
checking
life
how
of,
that works out.
It's only the life of your term.
That's what I was,
You're not stuck with it until
that's what I was assuming, but I
Better-
figured I would still ask it.
no.
But yeah, I'm happy to take it, Joey.
And it's for Ray's, because I've done hers in the past. She'd email the stuff, and it's easy.
And it would be fitting, seeing that
my
you
God.
insist on calling her doctor.
She could tell me to stop.
So Justin, what'll happen is I'll complete it, send it
Just
to
hold
you.
it.
You can call me Ray.
You'll need to sign it, and then, any questions you and I can talk about.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, all right.
Someone should probably show them the voucher screen, just how to fill them out. It's a little confusing if you've never done it before.
Right, I can do that. I also, it looks like I might, get trained so that I'll actually be able to pay.
Pay what?
Put your stuff into the system.
So you actually, rather than you bypass the
Yeah.
accounting,
Yeah.
we just self.
So, provided I get
And
trained.
since you could update the website,
I did update the one.
no, but since you can, just keep adding it on. Job security.
Yeah, he's.
Okay. A lot of side comments. I can't hear what you're saying.
Sorry,
Oh,
we're
sorry,
looking
I
at
was-
dogs.
I-
You got
we
dog
talking
people over here.
dogs.
So you want to do project updates?
Sure. Certainly. So Stone Bridge.
I got, the last message I got from Ray, the project is complete with the exception of installing the granite posts around the flagpole, which we will be doing in November, being this month. That was not on the plans, and we have purchased the granite post with our money, and the labor will be donated. The electric service was installed and the lights are on. They just need to be programmed. They will turn on at dusk and off at 11. But if someone walks on the bridge at any time after 11, they will come on with an occupancy sensors and stay on for 15 minutes or as long as they detect motion. We have raised $44,000 and we continue to get donations to reach our goal of $50,000. We continue to maintain and clean the park, watered all the plants on a daily basis after they were installed. We have recently stopped watering, but we'll pick that back up in the spring. We lost 3 of the plantings and will be replacing them in the spring. We had approximately 20 to 25 people working every weekend on the bridge from April to July for a total of 2,464 man-hours. The volunteers were great. We will continue to maintain the park, and as a person mentioned to me, that engine company too, and all of the volunteers turned an eyesore into a gem, something that we were all proud of, and I got that from Ray Mead. I had asked him again about photos, and he has not given me anything yet. The lovely and talented Joanne had offered to maybe put that into more of a report form for us and maybe put it together, because it appears that that we're not getting a lot of other, as far as narrative reports done from the builders. So
Do you know if most of the guys that are working are retired or active?
active?
So they're active. Part
There are some former and some retired, but most are active.
Okay. What else was I gonna ask?
All right. Can I? I'm sorry.
Joanne's brought you to tears.
Do you need a
Jeez.
tissue?
No, all of a sudden it's just like I gotta.
It's not
I got
cold, but
itch.
you're welcome to have the water.
Oh no, thank you though. Can I go into the report on the Lions Club thing, because it's not listed here?
No,
It's
it
on the
is.
second page.
On the back. We have high tech.
Oh, it's on the back. Oh,
We're being
never mind.
sustainable.
I didn't look on the back.
We're green.
Hey, listen, one time when we had a public hearing, I put the public hearing agenda on one side and the regular agenda on the back. You guys don't know it, but you all went through the entire meeting thinking I hadn't put together an agenda for you for the regular meeting because nobody flipped the
Yeah,
page.
remember who you're working with here, will you?
Sorry, I know.
We need a big arrow that says over, idiot.
I know.
Never mind. That's all I have on the Stone Arch.
I have nothing on the open space and rec plan.
So what,
Sorry,
so are they,
delinquent.
does that mean that they haven't had a meeting?
Yeah, we haven't had a meeting, yeah.
And is this, who's driving this bus?
Joe, I mean, hopefully now that Leah's on board fully and then they.
But I've got
hire
that
somebody-
sunsetting,
Sunsetting in June
June of 18.
It's almost all paid for, though. There's only like,
of 18 it's
Two-
sunsetting? No, it was, we
I wouldn't
probably,
lie about something like that.
no, but we probably
18's
passed it
passed.
in 18. It's only a couple, I
it'd be this June of 2020.
think it would be June of 2020.
The funding was spring of 2016.
Yeah.
Are you sure? Open space and rec plan?
Do you think Joanne would give us something that wasn't true?
Yes.
But I thought that all the money was expended and this was just a tightening up of
Oh, maybe that, I
verbiage.
mean, the bills might all be
I think
paid.
I think the consultant's been paid. I think this is a matter of just getting verbiage.
Which is a mistake. That's why this is taking so long. They got their money.
I will check. I will check and let you know in December.
Oh, let him know. I don't care.
Because when I talked
I
to
just got a
Joe
sheet.
back in July, because when I was here for like 3 days, I bumped him in the parking lot, and he said that there's like 3 paragraphs that they just phoned it in, and it wasn't
Right.
the way it should have been drafted for
It was
our
down to
community.
just the details.
But that's, I think, the only thing that's holding them up, and it's not that your committee can do anything. It's got to be the consultant.
Oh,
And if the consultant's been paid, then there's not a whole lot of leverage.
well, I
other
don't know
than,
for sure the phone, you think
I
the
don't
bill?
know.
I don't.
You know
have
what,
that
I will check
report
in and I
front of
will,
me.
I will do my, sorry, I got busy. I did not check in my
happens.
project.
Okay.
I will take, you want
So
to carry the
is
ruler? You wanna
Super
have
Park's
that?
not on here, but I'm gonna insert
not-
that. Is it?
Because it's.
Is it on the back?
But I wanna bring it up because it was brought up at library on Monday.
Okay,
And I'm sure you're very well aware of this, but I want the committee to be aware that they said that until the library is basically finished,
who said that?
Andy Shane,
Say the first part of this, because I,
that go back to Super Park,
Oh.
that until the library's finished, and we were talking about paving of the parking lot and all that stuff, and he said, yes, that has got to be finished, that we will not start Super Park. He said that they may hire a landscape architect, or they may do some,
We
or
have
to
done
get
that.
change orders that committee would then have to pay for, to put conduit or whatever to get back there at appropriate time. But to actually do the park, that cannot happen until he said the library's pretty much done. Does
you
that,
can do the conduit and stuff.
Right.
So that,
does that
Conduit's
sound,
Well, I know that we, did go out for bid for a landscape architect to get plans.
to say this is right, so that you can
But-
come up with this is how much it's gonna cost?
Right, correct. And then, but we were checking into, to make sure that, you know, the timing and all of that
Because I
stuff.
mean, I would stay in touch with Andy, and
Yeah.
as far as I know, that piece never got addressed with the Mass Library Board, because they're the ones that,
Well, it sounds like he did get an answer, if that's,
well, they
if that's what
talked
he's
about
saying.
one piece of it, but not all of it, and I
Oh,
don't,
okay,
I thought he said that he went to that meeting, and that's how, that,
okay,
because I think I just
all right.
wanna make
I'll check in with
sure,
Andy. Yeah, no, at
because
the
I don't wanna
time-
hold up the Super Park if we don't have to, but if we have to because of the library,
Right.
then we have to.
Wait, we have to get reimbursed for the library. We're not gonna jeopardize
Right,
reimbursement for
right.
the super park.
But we also
But-
don't wanna do things that are, like, because we're
We
talking
wanna
about.
get the conduit in if we
Right,
can, because
right.
we don't wanna
And that's
dig it up.
just to make a
Yeah.
change
And we
order.
do have some money.
Right. To
It wouldn't
make
be
that happen.
anything, the library wouldn't have to pay for
Right.
anything, or,
Right.
okay, I'll check in with Andy. Yeah, as far as I knew, that was a question that we had about, there's something about altering the site of the library.
Mhm.
And, you know, so we'll double check, and if that's the case, that's the case, but, It'll be disappointing, cause it'll be another 16 months.
Right.
It's just the completion of the project, not the payment of the project. See, that's
Right.
the other stuff I have to ask, because
Because the
payment
project
doesn't
won't get
happen
paid for probably a couple
like
years after
4
it's
years.
done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that would be really disappointing.
Unless things change with the library and the project gets
Right.
bumped up quicker.
I
Right,
wouldn't see where putting conduit in would be a change in the project.
right.
That's
Except-
not an issue. It's the actually starting. You can raise money based on your
Right.
plans, but you really can't go in with a shovel and start it until the library's done
Yeah, okay.
because of how their
Okay.
rules are.
So that, it sounds like that question was, that was one of the questions we were trying to get clarification on, and it sounds like Andy did, but I'll
No, but I
double check.
I thought he was at the same, that you guys had a meeting and that's,
No.
okay.
So you just need to coordinate with him
Yeah.
the timing for those change orders,
Yeah.
so you have some
And
lead
Andy's
time.
been helping,
right.
he's been
I
helping.
mean, he's very well aware of
Yeah,
both
both projects.
projects, so.
Yeah, I mean, certainly that's disappointing if we have to wait, but we can't jeopardize the
Right.
library funding. I mean, that's not a,
But at least if you know that, then you can plan around it.
yeah. So now, that means.
But I also want to say, again, it's like my memory is no good, but I want to say that he said that an article could be on town meeting warrant in May for the super park. And I said, a year before you could actually build it, and he said, yes.
Or you
So I
really
don't know
run
if we'd
into a
wanna do-
sunset problem.
Well, I mean, you just make it for 3 years, or
Right.
you start out
Yeah, we set that, if
Wider.
we knew
Yeah.
that we had longer
Because
lead time,
typically
we
they're-
could do that.
quick.
I guess we could do that. It's hard to get people to vote on stuff when
It's nebulous, yeah.
when it's that far out.
Yeah.
But
So-
maybe, yeah.
But again, and the bottom line is that we need to make sure if you're going to be coming back to us for money, that's one of our placeholders of question mark CP.
Right, well, and as
Super
we know,
Park.
right now, we don't have enough money.
Right,
CPC does not have enough money, so,
but it would have to be bonded depending on how much you wanted.
right. But if it was 16 months out, then we would have more
It would
money.
make a difference, yeah.
So, I mean, it sounds like, the last I had heard, we were going out for a bid for, that landscape architect.
Okay.
But I had not heard that piece, but again, you just heard it last night, so maybe it's
No,
new
Monday.
inf-
It was
Monday night that Andy recently got. But again, we've said all along, we don't wanna jeopardize the library project
Right.
we gotta make sure things are done by the book.
Right.
When does
So-
that RFP close, Jen?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay.
You know,
I
that,
can probably
that
find out,
comment
right?
there was not lost on me. That when it comes to the library, we gotta do this by the book. See what
Oh,
you
it
did
was
there?
Good pun, good pun. So, I just totally lost track of what I was about to say. Oh, I heard you mention,
It was that super.
bonding. Are we thinking that the super park is gonna be a large enough project that we're gonna wanna bond for the funding? for it?
It depends how much money we have. I mean, the equipment, when we had, talked to the playground designer, of course, every year we put stuff out,
Cost.
costs more. We had given the parameters, like, give us, what can we get for 500 grand?
Yep.
Now, the site work, we have around 270. We're hoping that 270 could handle the site work, but now, the landscape architect, all that sort of stuff. So again, I would imagine it's gonna be, the project will probably totally be between 750 and $1 million, I would imagine.
And that includes what DPW will be able to do for you?
Well, that stuff, until we have the actual plan, we're not sure
Yeah.
exactly what, but I mean, certainly we'd be raising money and doing all sorts of things, but it's gonna be, I would guess from this, the request would be at
We can
least
have a bake
500.
sale.
Yeah. Yeah,
Have you considered doing something like what North Grafton Elementary did when they got their playground equipment? They actually had parent volunteers come
Yeah.
out and provide the labor, and I know that saved quite a bit of money.
yes. we
Well,
would
I go
do
back
all
to
that
the
stuff.
original Super Park. I helped with that, and I don't know my way around a screwdriver.
Yeah, you have to have somebody running it that knows what they're doing.
Well, and yeah, because the posts have to be exact.
Well, they had people, because
Right.
I helped the one at North Street.
Yeah.
They had their people there that
Right.
you're just holding stuff
Yep.
and.
Yeah, you're just
no,
the
I
you know,
remember
number.
it well.
you're-
That's how you hurt your back.
No, it was long before.
It was,
Yeah.
it was essentially one day and we got it
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There were
so,
a few things there.
And they had
But
like
the-
multiple shifts of people that came in.
yeah. So again, you're asking me questions that I'm not prepared to answer just because, I haven't,
Yeah,
we don't know those details yet. I don't know exactly, but I would imagine it would be, the equipment itself will be around 500. So all the other things, the benches and the lights and the, there'll be other additional costs besides just the equipment.
Yep.
So that's why we're getting the landscape architect to give us a better idea of what that cost actually will be. But
Sounds like it
it's
is big enough
expensive.
to bond, yeah.
but you think, again, let's go back to the Stone Arch Bridge. We spent 360 on that,
Yeah.
and it is it's lovely, but it's small.
Yeah.
So, you think about it, it's like, it's a big price tag for the super park, but
But the materials that you have to use to make it handicap accessible
Oh, that's
are very
huge.
expensive.
Yeah.
expensive.
It's very expensive.
It's not mulch, and mulch is expensive enough, but that rubberized
Yeah.
stuff is terribly expensive.
Well, and it's also like the equipment too. The whole idea is to make a place where people of all abilities can play together. So in order to get up to the towers, that requires a certain amount of ramping, and it's expensive to do that much ramping. If you could have steeper ramps, then it would be cheaper. And there's also Jen Anderson was looking into these like sensory panels for kids that might not. It might not be a physical limitation, but it might be visual or autistic children or other children that should be able to play together as well. So again, I don't have, but when it comes, I would imagine it's going to be big, and if it's in 16 months, we'll have more money. If it's sooner than that, we'll think about it. I mean, Pell's probably coming off soon, right? It's 5 years. Pell.
Yeah. About,
We'll be done paying
For
that
I think
bond.
4 years, right?
Yeah.
does it say here?
So, but we'll see. And again, I don't have a lot of details because we're kind of not there yet. We need more accurate estimates.
Did I put Pell on that?
It says 11 out of 20, so we still have a ways to go.
Yeah, we still, I thought we had just hit the halfway mark.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
But
Never mind.
Okay.
but we'll see. And again, we'll do fundraising. We'll do all that stuff, and we have to get it passed by the town first. I mean, that's we'll see what the voters want.
Thank you. Institute Woods, any update on that? You said that had started, Joanna, at our last meeting?
Yes. Yes. I don't, Sandy usually gets the updates on that.
Okay,
I can follow up with Joe and just send out a quick update when I send out the minutes.
okay. Any updates? Has Candy even started in on that?
Yeah, I have had some dialogue with her in the last few weeks, and basically gave her a lot of information, like how much money they have left, the fact that the archival company that they had been using was now out of business. And Joanne was kind enough to reach out to Linda Casey, and they've actually, for their preservation of some of their documents, I think it may have been those samplers too.
It was like-
yeah. So, but they recommended this other company.
And it was like in Westboro.
It's in Shrewsbury. Yeah. So I gave her all that information. She
It's Dragon. Isn't it?
Green Dragon, yes. So she has expressed interest in continuing the project. She is going to be reaching out to Green Dragon to get some estimates. And then she'll be coming back to us when she
Okay.
knows what it is she'll be looking for. They do have a new employee in the clerk's office, and it's a gentleman that's interested in history. His name is Paul, so he's got to be a nice guy. So he may be leading the charge in this. I don't know. She seemed to be interested in talking to him about it.
He worked at the World War II Museum in Natick.
I heard that it's abruptly shut. I don't know if it's closed.
It's closing?
That they had it was on the news.
Really?
I didn't
heard
catch that.
Related to that B-17 crash?
Oh, really?
No.
The Collings Museum? Is that what you're talking about?
No, that's in like Acton or something.
No.
Like
This is in
Oval-
Natick.
No, this one's in
on
Natick.
the
Okay, it's a different one. All
like
right.
the Navy
Collings
training
Institute.
or whatever. They have a place over there.
They have enigmas or something there. There's some,
At Natick
The
Labs?
Enigma machine?
huh?
The Enigma
It's
machine?
Yeah,
like
they have, there's
on
something they
Speen
have
Street or
there
off
in
of
that
Speen
museum.
Street. I don't know if they just had like a financial bump, but if it got resolved, I just saw that they had like closed one day. But historic gravestones,
Isn't that redundant?
no update. What?
Historic gravestones?
Well, there can be non-historic gravestones too. New ones wouldn't be historic.
Grafton Common restoration.
So, right now we're waiting for Graves Engineering to complete the specs and all that we will be needing to, go out to bid with. So they are at work on those. Hope to have, them done sometime early, next month. We've also met with, we had met with them already, the arborists, but, we actually got a proposal from them, not for the actual construction work, but for the work leading up to that, to help us ascertain what trees they feel would be impacted the most by the work, and whether or not that impact would be detrimental to the point where it would be a consideration to remove a tree.
When will you know that, do you think?
Which piece of it?
About the trees?
Well, the timing of it is still kind of up in the air because they need to do air spading as part of that evaluation
Yeah.
to determine the root spread. I guess that's probably not the term, the correct term, but at any rate, depending on when we get the information from Graves, which they need before they can go and do their
Yeah.
work. The ground may or may not be frozen. If the ground's frozen, then they won't be able to do that work until spring. We would like, to be able to do it, now, so that if there are trees that need to be removed, we could actually do that before the construction actually really started, because the town would be handling that. There's been concerns about those trees for sometimes. Some of the trees up there are not
Yeah.
looking too good, and there are others that are fine. So we'll just have to wait until we have Graves completed their piece, and then it'll only take them a few days to do their evaluation, but they need the engineering specs in order to do that work.
And I did talk to the Historical Society, and they are not planning to have the antique show in mid to late June on the Common. They're actually going to have it at the Grafton Flea Market, which is
Oh, wow.
interesting.
I would have thought they would have
Gone to
gone
Mill
at Mill
Village.
Village.
I said, and he said it's way too small. And driving past it, it is. There's not enough room. There's not enough parking. It's for all the vendors that they would have. It's
Too small.
much too small.
Right, I hadn't heard that. I did communicate with Cindy what our timeline was. We're hoping that if everything aligns, that we would be able to have all the work done in time for the July 3rd concert. But a lot is dependent on when we get the engineering work done and when we can start the project.
It's all a process, isn't it?
Yep.
I do have a question about the town common stuff though, real quick.
Mhm.
I think I heard something about the disability commission having talked about the pavers. Did that
With
happen?
the what?
Yes, we actually met with the
What?
Disability Commission
About the what?
Because there was
about the
Yeah.
brick.
there was a concern about brick
Oh,
pavers versus
Pavers. Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't hear
Paver
hear what you
stones.
said.
We met with them, we provided a lot of information about what we proposed. Basically, our proposal is that, we are going to use not the current set of guidelines, CMR, I'm trying to remember, 521, I think, if memory holds correct. But There is a proposed version that's out there that has been put out by the Architectural Access Board, and we're going to adhere to those guidelines. Because the existing guidelines actually don't talk about materials at all. They just talk about what the material needs to do in order to meet guidelines. And there's no specific reference to brick, obviously.
Yeah.
The new guidelines do specifically talk about brick and about how it needs to be installed to meet those guidelines. And that's what we had proposed all along. I think that was somewhat lost in the translation until we had a chance to actually get in front of the Disability Commission, which we had planned to do all along.
Yeah.
We had a great dialogue. We look at it as a partnership. We want to work with them to, have this project also meet the needs for disabled amongst the population.
I appreciate that as well. I know I was at the select board when you first proposed this to them. I think it was you there in person, but might have been someone else.
Yep.
But that using the newer guidelines was something that I missed hearing it throughout this whole process till just now.
Right.
So, I'm happy that they were happy with that as well.
Yeah,
So,
they actually were unanimous in support of it, so that
That's
was
great.
good. And the selectmen talked about it at a couple meetings ago. So, yeah,
that must be where I thought I heard it from.
yeah.
Well, we signed the contract for.
Yes, they signed the contract for us to move forward with Graves Engineering.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay, weights and measures.
That's Dawn, she's responsible for that,
And I did talk at the historical commission meeting last month that Alan had said that he's been in touch with the guy in Acton that's going to do the work. The work is actually going to be less than the budgeted amount. And it's just a matter of transporting the case up to Acton and then getting it done so that it doesn't interfere with the holiday, like Thanksgiving, I think was the concern. They didn't want this to kind of get stuck up there for a long time. They want to be able to take it up there, have it get done, and then when they bring it back, it obviously can't go back where it was, and it'll probably, I think, just go somewhere in the municipal center.
I thought the Historical Society said that they would house it
Temporarily.
I mean,
temporarily,
maybe,
cause I don't,
because they don't have a lot of room there.
Yeah,
They
to
could put
to
it
be
in this
displayed in an agreed
temporary.
upon public location.
that's gonna be the library,
Yeah.
But
But temporarily, it could be
long-term.
here.
Yeah,
yeah, it could be here, yeah.
So,
or the super park. See who weighs more.
That will, not be available to. The date apparently just got moved out.
That's it. That's it. Oh,
historical resources inventory, that's,
that's that John guy.
you would know this, because
We're signing the contract on Tuesday.
so that did get to you guys, so I guess that we did approve
on the
of somebody
agenda for
that we
Tuesday,
wanted
right?
to hire. There was a
No.
consultant that we picked.
It's gonna be on the following week because
That project's not gonna get done on time. This all should have been done in July.
when I talked to Joe, I didn't think he would have, I thought he wasn't gonna have everything back.
The,
I will find out tomorrow
There's a
because
real
I can
potential.
amend the agenda to add that if that got missed today.
Because I feel like when I talked to Tim, again, this is like, I don't know for sure, so I should probably just keep my mouth shut. But like, we were talking about maybe not meeting next week. And, so I was trying to figure out what was on, if we needed to meet. And I thought that was one of the only things on.
I can take it.
that needs to get started for the consultant, because she needs to get started. There was an issue in
It's
her
really-
application about
really handy.
the lateness of this and doing photographs, because they're not gonna be what Mass Historical wants if these are winter scenes. Also, the work has to be completed by basically June 30th to get reimbursed by Mass Historical.
I'll follow up tomorrow, and if
Okay.
it was left off of the agenda for Tuesday, it can be added tomorrow. I'll just amend the agenda.
Okay.
Well, you know everything.
Purchase of Robinson property.
That's done, I should probably take that
Yeah,
off.
Ken said that's done.
Yeah, I goofed by leaving
It's
that
just
on.
fun to have something you can cross off on your actual agenda.
Lions Club.
Uh, Town administrator has offered resources from the engineering department to assist in developing more detailed plans for the project as a way to reduce the expenditure of CPC funds. Peter Adams and Dave Robbins for the Lions Club met with Brian Cizurko for the town on site last month to take a closer look at the site and discuss ideas and alternatives. Peter and Brian plan to follow up with further discussion, and as Dave remembers, they were going to do some digging, literally digging, to get a better understanding of what the soil is like and where we're thinking of locating a septic system, and that hasn't been done yet. Brian had some helpful suggestions about how to do the driveway with little or no potential wetland impact. So we're making some progress, though more slowly than I originally thought we would, and we are mindful of the sunset date, but at that moment, it's not a problem.
Is this Peter Adams, selectman?
Yeah.
Peter Adams? Okay. Cisco Homestead.
I just got an update that I need to get updates.
That's a good one. I'm putting that in. That's a good one.
No, that just got started. Baseline report, same thing. We don't really have a report on that.
Yeah.
What is baseline reports? Can you refresh my memory?
They're needed for all conservation restrictions. Because it's basically, think of it, it's like a baseline report. They go out, they have a report that shows them what the area looks like, you know, what's present, what's not, that type of thing, so that then is in the conservation restriction, as the land trust goes on and monitors these properties, they need that baseline in order to come to the town, whomever, and say, look, this was done. You know, somebody
Somebody built a motocross course.
course
on
in
public
here, right, or
property,
somebody
which
took
is
down
something
this.
I've dealt with.
Conditions, essentially.
Thank you, it's an existing conditions
Yeah.
report, that's
Okay.
exactly what it is.
Okay.
Much better than me spewing on about.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
I only have one thing I would like to mention and ask this board, and that is where we've talked about my Facebook post today. Is it the board's wish that I make a picture copy, send it to Joanne to attach to the minutes for this meeting?
Picture copy of what?
What I had
Of your
posted,
Facebook page.
the text that I posted. That I'm willing to do, but that's up to this board.
I don't think we need.
I don't think that's
No,
necessary.
I think my concern, the concern is that you have all these little conversations going on and the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing. And if there's an issue that's critical for people,
Yeah.
for me to know.
No, I understand. My reason for bringing it up is that it is something that happened outside this meeting that was discussed at this meeting. I didn't know if that was, that the board probably should.
If you would be more comfortable in having it in there, then feel free to do so, I would say.
I'll leave it up to you.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. I gotta be in the
All
minutes.
those in favor, we're adjourned.
Aye.